Hi, this is Duncan Evans for the Brutally Delicious podcast. Today I'm reviewing a new record from Demons. So Demons are a band from Norfolk, Virginia. They feature longtime May guitarist Zach Gehring, and this is their second full-length album release, and it's called Privation. So it's aggressive, it's heavy, there's some great crisp guitar riffs, some really nice tight heavy drums. It largely falls into the post-hardcore style. There's a lot of influence of bands like Converge going on here. But there's also maybe the influence of bands like Godflesh, I thought I could hear. There's some industrial influence, I think, as well. For example, there's some sampled robotic voices on the first track, and there's some synth drums, some synthetic sort of computerized drums on some sections, and some other samples as well. So it's quite varied. So we get the slow riffs, and we also get fast riffs and a lot of tempo changes and a lot of time signature changes. So those elements give the music a bit of a math rock feel. However, there's still a looseness and a punk energy which cuts through and balances really nicely with the more progressive elements. So there's a lot to hang on to. There's some really strong melodies. There's some really powerful grooves that just make you want to nod your head. But then there's also some maybe less expected elements where suddenly the time signature will change, or perhaps we'll go into a spacey prog rock guitar solo. And that all keeps it interesting, but also leaves enough familiar content for you to hang on to. The special mention that I'm going to give goes to the vocals. I thought the vocals were absolutely phenomenal. So they're hardcore style screams, but there's also a lot of nuance within that, a lot of subtle changes, and quite a lot of melody in there as well. Even when those screams are really aggressive and forceful, there's often a melodic element as well underneath, which is great, much more nuanced than a lot of similar vocals that I've heard. And the last track, St. Luke, has an almost folky feel to the melody, which I thought was different and worked really, really well, even though the music was super aggressive, post-hardcore. The feel and the rhythm and the melody seemed to borrow from folk style music, which worked really nicely. So I think you'll really like this record if you're into your post-hardcore, your heavy progressive music, but also your hardcore punk and metal as well. The record's out now via Spartan Records on vinyl or as a digital download. Thanks.
Ever wonder what a punch from Elton John feels like?
Or how you'd cope with having turned down the chance to be in Nirvana?
Or what signal Keith Richards gives when he wants you to get the hell out of his hotel room?
Fans of Too Much Effing Perspective don't have to wonder, because they've heard these exact stories and a jillion others on our podcast. I'm Alex Hoffman, former tour manager for Radiohead.
And I'm musician and comedy writer Alan Keller. On the TMEP show, we get guests like Nancy Wilson from Heart, Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, and Modern Family's Julie Bowen to tell us things they may have only shared with their therapist, clergy, or a TMZ stringer.
So join us on Too Much Effing Perspective. That's EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.